Hello, hello, and welcome back to Smoke Room. So we're still playing as William. That's so. Are they gonna do this for the other routes, where you start playing from the other person's perspective? That'd be neat. Cause I was surprised that it only happened in Flynn's route in Echo. That feels like something you would have done, like more often. But this is really cool. I don't know, Samuel comes off as even more just even more cheeky, I guess. It's really cute. I fetch a glass in the living room, filling it up, then bring it to him. Drink. Some fluids will help you wake up. Who's making that fuss outside? It's just Todd. Sounds urgent. It's probably not. Because if it were urgent, he'd remember where I put the spare key. Might be. But I'm not letting you out of my sight until you finish that glass of water. He glares, then tips his head back to chug it. A bit cheeky, but it gets the job done. There, all done. He pushes the covers off and plants his feet onto the floor a little stiffly, then blinks. His eyes aren't rolling back or drifting out of focus, and his pupils aren't contrasting and dilating, so that's a relief. You done staring me down, Sheriff? Is he really going to judge me for staring as if asking if somebody's walls are hollow or not is normal? That's the kind of stuff that makes me worry about you, Sam. No need. My gaze has its fill of you last night. Must have been hard for you. Todd's still banging on the door. You gonna get that? Not until you're dressed and ready to go downstairs. I'll be quick about it. He steps over his undergarments and drawers on the floor and tugs and fabrics up his legs. So you're the one who volunteering to get the door then. He waddles towards the shades and tilts his head. No. Then hurry up. I have to lock the door behind me. He mumbles and eating his ass under his breath, as if he can't hear me while he snatches his shirt, tucking it in, and then hooks his suspenders over his shoulders. Finally, he's ready to go, and I lock the door on the way out. Todd's still banging on the door like a madman. Hold your goddamn horses, I'm coming. I bet you are. He lets him finish his flurry of blows before turning the knob, letting the door creak open. Well, there you are, Sheriff. He looks a bit of a mess. Did you forget about the key, Todd? Oh, right. Well, that ain't important right now. I needed to tell you that I met Huxley Green. Well, that's good news, at least. Oh, yeah? And what sort of state was he in? Well, not too good, considering he didn't have a head. Okay. What? You mean he's dead? Well, that's what the wallet in his pocket said, and I brought his body just to make sure. I grabbed his shoulders to move him aside to see the carcass-sized pillowcase. You dragged this all the way here? I figured you would like to look at him before the bugs and the buzzards got to him and got the rest of him. I lift my shirt over my nose and crouch down, then lift the sheets off the body. It's frozen, so the smell isn't as bad as it could be, but there are pieces of fur and flesh missing.
Those are definitely his clothes, though. I'd recognize Marcy's stitchwork anywhere. And hard to mistake the thick, bald rat tail that looks more like a worm, a pale worm, than anything else. Yeah, that's probably him. Let's haul him inside.
Yes, sir.
Todd carries one side, and I carry the other into the open jail cell we had opened the other night for the same purpose. I check outside again to see if we've dropped anything, but there's nothing much to look at. I would have thought this man was lying low or hopped a train out of the town. But something like this is in a place like this. It's just yet another thing that doesn't make much sense.
Well, you know what they say. When it's your time, it's your time.
Who's they, exactly?
Some Jesuits down the street.
The man that had his head ripped off, he didn't die of old age.
Well, I already know that.
I mean, that if he's been dead for, let's be honest, what looks like a few days, then he would have had to be real quick about issuing a hit on Mr. Tibbets. See what I'm saying? Todd blinks at me. Come on, you can put it together.
Are you saying he just hated what he, couldn't understand?
I'm saying he might not have placed the hit, Todd.
If not him, then who?
Now that's a great question, Todd.
Notebook updated. Notebook? What is what is this? Oh no, it's cute. What is this music? It's cute. Huxley Green is dead. His body was found frozen, decapitated with ripped for. What is there's gonna be more of these? Okay, let's. Okay.
This is why I always bring my notebook with me when I'm keeping track of my thoughts.
No. Where was the body found? Asked Todd later.
You gotta start picking up the practice yourself. Now, what do you say we do whatever we should, what we should have done in the first place, and pay Mr. Tibbets a visit? I turn and see the red of Sam's eyes staring from my office. We'll be back soon. Keep the interior locked.
Okay.
He disappears behind the window, and we heard the heavy lock of the door click. Shouldn't be long. I don't know if that's true, but he is just next door.
So wait, what's Sam doing in there at this hour?
Debriefing. Technically not wrong.
Gee, I guess he works late hours, doesn't he?
He works hard.
And there's no shame in that.
I didn't exactly say that, Todd.
I just mean that I think he must have to do all sorts of really difficult things.
I give him a look. You think about those things a lot, Todd?
No.
He doesn't say anything else for the rest of the walk. When we reach the door to Mr. Tibbets' apartment, some things immediately don't make sense. The lock in the screen. The lock is scratched to hell and back. I swivel the knob to see if it's still locked, but it's completely loose.
I told you once, and I'll tell you again, that you aren't welcome here. I'll have you know that if you knock down that door, the authorities will be here in an instant.
It's just us, Mr. Tibbets.
Oh, thank goodness.
I hear some of the furniture move around, and something rattles against the door. The door pops open, and the twitchy little man takes a step back.
Please come in. I'll put on some tea. Oh, what kind? Black, with a bit of, bergamot. Yeah, sure? Yeah, bergamot. Yeah, surely.
That won't be necessary, Mr. Tibbets, but do what makes you feel comfortable. I just get straight to the point and tell us what the hell is going on up here.
Well, I had thought it was, potentially obvious that I am frightened, Sheriff.
Don't be cute. Frightened of who?
Of that brute and bully who calls himself Reed. Calls himself Reed? Was he the wolf that was playing cards? I don't know. I see Reed and I immediately think of Reed Richards, who, a brute and a bully. It does make sense for him, so. Notebook updated. Is it another cute... God. That wolf came clawing at my door tonight and broke the lock. That's terrible. That's not at the half of it. He would have been upon me if I hadn't barricaded the door with all the furniture I could put together in the ramsack apartment.
So you know it was him for sure? The stout was, filling his kettle and striking a match beneath the wooden stove.
I know that messy, that greasy gray fur and those dumb little eyes anywhere. And if I were blind, there'd, of course, be the smell. You know, mustelids can get all sorts of earfuls about how we put off an offensive odors simply for an ordinary body scent. But canines have a particular kind of reek to them that's unmistakable.
He stopped all of a sudden, a bit flushed in his ears.
Well, he's right about that, William.
I do not give an iota of a fuck about this conversation. Mr. Tibbets, please focus. I'll check in to Reed.
That's splendid, but I wouldn't feel a moment's peace with that madman on the loose.
I'd like you to stay at the station for a while.
You think I'd be safer inside of a prison cell?
Nobody said anything about any prison cells.
William has a comfy couch in his office. Heck, I've slept there plenty of times. Not on taxpayer dollars, I hope.
Todd looks like he just got hit in the face with a shovel. There's no way he'd be able to handle somebody like Cliff on his own. Let's talk about other things to do to keep you safe. He turned to look at me, and he was filling metal capsules with dry leaf, metal capsules with dry leaf and flower buds,
such as.
It's common protocol to investigate a victim a little closer after they've been attacked. Helps us piece together a few things. He places 3 teacups on his little table.
I think you'll find I'm an open book, so ask away.
Let's start with who you think who might want you dead.
Seems rather obvious, doesn't it?
Just tell me who you think it is.
Huxley and Reed, without a doubt.
Okay. I watch his expression as he puts down his little teacups onto the table. But who else? His lip curls, and he looks sideways. Which probably means that he was thinking about it before I asked him.
Probably somebody who doesn't want me here.
Now we're getting somewhere. But why go through all of the trouble to use violence to stop your academic endeavor? I lean in a bit closer. I hear plenty of stories about how cutthroat the field academia is without ever needing any bloodshed. The kettle whistles.
A moment.
I could tell that he's relieved by the distraction.
Sugar and cream? Sugar and cream.
So, who do you think might use violence against you, Cliff? Because they don't want you here. He pours his own cup of tea first, then Todd's, then mine.
Perhaps some greedy businessman who don't see eye to eye with my benefactor. I doubt I know their name.
So, who is the benefactor that brought you to Echo?
The same man who drew you here, from what I understand.
Name him, please.
Sorry, but that's confidential.
Mr. Tibbet. Just because I asked you nicely doesn't mean you can withhold that information. This is basic information permitted to whether or not your worker's permit can be deemed valid.
Well, bend my arm, why don't you?
The name, Tibbets.
Very well. It's Mr. Hendricks, of course. Okay.
I'm not surprised at all. This is exactly the kind of clown shit that would have his name all over it. But I want to rely on a few assumptions as possible. Could I see your official paperwork?
I don't see how that's relevant to anything, but of course.
He picks up the satchel by his feet, unlatches it with his feet, then plucks a gray folder from it and passes it to me. I thumb through it. It states his name, Clifford Tibbets, and his job title, consultant, in gold letters. Health information follows. This is beautiful stationery.
Whoops. Sorry about that. Thank you.
I hand it back to him. Government issue, typeface is bare bones and clinical. This is a CGCS form, not an official government verification.
I'm afraid that my work permit is still moving through the post. If I'm lucky, it should arrive in a week or two, and they'll have your paperwork then.
As far as I can tell, everything this man has told me has been truthful. But I can tell that his cards still aren't all on the table. What's something official you have that can prove that you are who you say you are?
Would travel tickets suffice, Mr. Adler?
It's better than nothing.
Well, it's the last thing that I have.
He slides me a ticket. It states a passage for one person on an ocean liner. A Cornels von blah 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 blah. Your ticket, Mr. Tibbets.
That's mine.
This is a ticket for a man named Cornelius. Cornelis. He looks down.
And that's my, birth name. It's just so fucking cute. I don't believe it is criminal to have an alias, is it, Sheriff Adler?
Not really, no.
Lots of people do it. Especially when you're writing a book, when they're writing books. It's a bit romantic to be able to choose your own name, isn't it? All you have to do is pick your mother's maiden name and as your own, and suddenly you can turn yourself into a sports writer rather than a romance author. You could become anything you want, really.
But there's a difference between calling yourself something new and living out a good part of your life as that something. You might not want to be what you choose to become. You might not want to be what you choose to be, okay? A life isn't a pen name or a book cover or a change of scenery. It's everything you are. My wristwatch sounds too damn loud. It's just a bit concerning. What with everything that's happened around you is all.
Oh, and that's my fault, isn't it?
The weasel sips his tea.
You bit off more than you could chew when you took this job, didn't you? Hey! Why are you being so unneighborly with us?
The stout gestures broadly to his wrecked living room.
Because I'm a little bit frightened right now, Mr. Bronson. I think we want the same thing. We want the same thing, though, right, Sheriff? I help you unmask some of the monsters trying to murder me, and I just keep telling you the truth like I always have. But just let me hold onto the idea of what I want to be a little longer, and let me keep using the new name.
So there it is, then. I can recognize a fair deal when I see one. I hold out my paw to him. He clasps it cautiously.
Isn't this Todd's theme? Okay. It's super cute. I like this song.
You gotta stay at the station then, or what?
Let me go wake Mr. Brines first, and I'll be on my way shortly.
Brines is here?
He has work early. I didn't want to wake him.
I thought you said you were attacked.
You think I can't riposte, Mr. Adler? I told you that I can take care of myself. Mr. Brines was running a fever, and he's practically naked at the moment.
I'll give you some space then.
Very good. I shan't be long.
We wait a while outdoors until we see the wiry-looking Murdoch emerge from the apartment. He looks from side to side, rubbing his snout, before making his way towards the direction of his father's store. He staggers a bit, but he makes his way there. Mr. Tibbets leaves the apartment 5 minutes later with a heavily stuffed bag and follows us to the station. I feel like I'm in the calm of a hurricane before the storm comes. I think I was right about disaster following this weasel, but I don't think he's the only one stirring up trouble by far. Consider the way Huxley died, and with Cliff having ties to James, I'm almost certain now that the rat didn't place the hit on the stout. But if that's the case, then how did he get the gun? And if Cliff is telling the truth, then why was Reed trying to break into his apartment? They didn't plan on hitting together, and then something happened to Mr. Green before he lost the gun. Maybe. I'll have to have a chat with Reed again before I have any reason to believe he has that much spite. Because as of now, that still doesn't make much sense to me. I'd pin down Reed as a guy willing to get his own hands dirty. Or to start shit when he's bored. He could definitely beat a man to death in broad daylight if he were mad and drunk enough. But plotting a murder while sober? I just can't see it. If the two of them already jumped this weasel in broad daylight, then what's the point of giving a kid a traceable gun to take care of him in secret? Maybe they just fucked it up. Simple as that. Case closed. But then, how did he get his goddamn head severed? I have more than a few things to consider now. I could go to the mayor and have a little chat about how things are going. Anytime, really. He spends most of his time in his office doing nothing when there isn't a ribbon to cut or a speech to unload. And he has no real jurisdiction over me. Or I could go to the stag that Nick and the Brines boy keep bringing up from time to time. It's the biggest men's club in town. And more importantly, I know about the mining union tends to congregate there. Perhaps the suggestion to go wouldn't be a waste of time after all. Tricky thing is, whoever I go first will take all day. Whatever I go do first will take all day. If I want Nick's help at the stag, it will have to be at night. But if I want a more private audience with the mayor, and I don't want Nick there at the stag with me, I should go to the stag first. Regardless, I should install.
Little Will is so cute. No. Oh no. Okay. Don't look at these dates, okay? I kind of want to go to the stag at night with Nick, because, you know, I just like spending time with Nick. So we'll go to City Hall. I wonder how much this varies up the game. I'll go to City Hall first. Is Samuel going to be with us, though? Curious. City Hall.
Alright, I'm off to see Mayor Testerman. Are you still able to watch over things while I'm gone, Todd?
Sure thing. Did I hear that you're paying old France another visit? Why, that's basically an honor.
Not really. He just wants to ask me whether or not the city is close to the state of emergency.
That sounds like him, all right. Old Franz always looks out for us. Seems like only yesterday that I was a pup and he gave old woman Willoughby his whole jacket on Easter Sunday. I remember how she said her feet turned so cold. And when the doctor paid her a house call, they said she nearly died. But she dreamed about Franz. In her dreams, he was an angel, William. And he brought her back from the cold while she was asleep.
So you're saying that he did the bare minimum that most people would do for an old woman, and then took credit for saving her life?
Well, the Lord works in mysterious ways, William. I think you could argue that he pretty much saved her life, no matter how you look at it.
This poor man. That's nice, Todd.
Lots of things are nice when you stop and think about them.
These things hast thou done, and I keep silent. Thou toughest that I was altogether such an one as thyself, but I will reprove thy, and set them in order before thine eyes. Sam is staring down at a pocket Bible. He looks angry. Now consider this. Get that forgot God, lest I tear you in pieces, and there be none to deliver. Poem 50th, 21-22. He shuts the page between his paws with a crisp snap.
You just sounded like a genuine preacher man, Sam.
Well, I'm not. I just thought it was an important thing to share.
I'll admit, I need to brush up on my Old Testament, but the way you said that made me feel I was sweating in pews. You ever read any of the Book of Mormon?
Sam still looks a bit mad, and now Cliff looks uncomfortable. Well, I'll leave this thrilling theological conversation to all of you. Bye.
I think I'll end the part here. Yeah, that sounds fine. I'll see you around, everyone.